Hello everyone, welcome to Machine Coding Interview. I am Sanjay and in this chapter we will discuss the code flow of Battleship game. So first let's see the project structure. In the Battleship project structure, we have the idea directory which has all the settings of idea. Then we have the Maven directory which have all the settings related to Maven. So these two directories we don't care about. The third directory is diagrams, where we have all the diagrams related to this project. So the first diagram is battleship.png, which shows the battleship. So this is the battleship where we have two boards. So one is the current player board and one is the opponent board. And these are the ships. So this board has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ships, and this board has 2 ships. So according to this game, the player who has destroyed all the opponent's ship is the winner, or who has destroyed the battleship of the opponent is the winner. So that is some kind of strategy that we are going to pass in the game when we create the game, which kind of strategy we want to use in this game. Then we have the class diagram. For this, I have created another chapter. You can just understand the class diagram there. And then we have the use case diagram, which shows what actors are interacting with the battleship game, and these are the use cases. So for this also, I have created another chapter, and you can understand the use case diagram in detail in that chapter. Now let's come to the source folder. So in source folder, we have all the coding related stuff. So in source, in Java, and in the Battleship folder. So you can see these four directories are there where we have all our coding related stuff. So first, we will understand the model here. So in the model, we can see the board, game, item, player, and square. So these are the five models that are going to be used in our application. So first we will understand the smallest item, which is square. So square has the row and column. So what is this row and column? So if you will see the diagram of the battleship game, then in the board, this board is made of little squares. Okay, and all the square has some kind of coordinate. So this square is represented by the row and column, and that's what we are doing here, the row and column. So how to distinguish the squares, whether they are same squares or different squares? For that, we have this equals method and hash code method. So to understand this equals method, so let's understand what happens in the equals method. If the current object is equal to the past object, current object means this and the past object is O. If they are same, then we are returning true. How can you find out that these two objects are same? So by their memory address. So if the two object has the same memory address, which is the hexadecimal address of your system. So if the hexadecimal address is same for these two objects, it means they are the same object. And if the past object is null, or if the past object and the current object are of different classes, then they are not considered equal. The next condition is if the past object's row is equal to current object row, and if the past object column is equal to the current object column, then we can consider that these two squares are same. That's all from this model. Now let's see the item model. So item is nothing but the ship. So in the battleship game, you can see there are different kind of ships. Okay, so this all ships we have named as model. So how do we distinguish one model is different from other? One model is different from other, that we find out by using the item type. So the item type is the type of the item. So which type of item it is? So it may be an aircraft carrier, it may be a battleship, it may be a submarine, it may be a destroyer, or it may be a patrol. So this item is nothing but a ship, and that will be distinguished by the item type. And then we have the item status. So what can be the item status? It can be untouched, it can be partially destroyed, and it can be destroyed. So when the game starts, then the item will be untouched, means the ship will be untouched. And when if the opponent has hit any of this cell of the item, then it will be in partial destroyed status. And when all the squares of the ship has been hit by the opponent, then the item status will be destroyed. So these are two properties. You can see that we have made setter only to item status because we just want to change the item status of the item, but we do not want to change the type of the item. Means if any ship is created as battleship or as a destroyer, then it will be battleship or destroyer till the time of its execution cycle. Okay, we are not going to change it. Then we have this variable called square heat map, which has all the square and boolean. So what does it mean? So any ship is available in some squares of the board. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is occupying 5 squares. It is occupying 3 squares. These 5 squares are their location. So if these squares are hit by the opponent, then we say then this ship is hit. So this square heat map shows that which square has been hit by the opponent. So if any of the square is hit by the opponent, then we will make that square as true, else it will be false. Then we have the game. But before going to the game, we will discuss about the board first. So let's understand the board class now. In the board class, we have squares map, which has the square and the boolean, which means if the square is hit by the opponent or not. Then we have the items, which are the list of items, which is nothing but the ships. It can be a destroyer ship, it can be a battleship, patrol ship, or any other ship. Then we have the row and column, which is the size of the board. Now, while printing the board, what we are doing, we are just getting the cell one by one. So we are getting 0, 0. From 0, 0, we are creating a square. And then for checking whether that square in the board is occupied by the item or not. Squared occupied by the item means squared is occupied by the ship or not. Means if any part of this ship is there in the board or not. So for that we have two statements. First is item.get square heat map dot contents key square. Means what we are checking if the ship has that square or not. So the square that we are getting from the row and column is available in that ship or not. If that is available in that ship, means the square is available in that ship, the coordinate is available in that ship. Now we will check whether this has been hit by the opponent. So how we are going to check it? By using the squares map. So squares map dot get square will return true or false. True means that square has been hit by the opponent. So if that square is available in the item and if that is hit by the opponent, then we are printing H. H means hit and the square is occupied by the item, and then we are going to break for that square. So this condition is when the ship was hit by the missile. Let's say if the ship is not hit by missile, means that square is still available in that ship, but this is returning false, means the hit map is returning false to us. Then we would simply say that ship is available, print as, and square occupied by the item. So this square is occupied by the ship. Then we are going to break for that row and column, means for that square. So now we have found the hit and the miss case for the ship. Now we are going to check if the ship's empty places were hit by the missile or not. So if the square occupied by the item is false, means there is no part of any ship is available in the board, then we are going to check square hit map, squares map get square. If it is true, it means that square has been hit, but this was an empty place. So we are printing cross. And if squares map dot get square equal to false, means the opponent have not bombed on this square. So we are simply printing O here, means the empty place was not hit on the board. So this is the print method which will be printing after each bombing by the opponent. Then we are checking for the game class. Game class has this getter and setter annotations, which means all the getters and setters for these properties will be automatically created by the Lombok framework. So let's see what are the properties we have. In game, we have the players, we have the winner, which is a player, we have the game status, we have the winning strategy, we have the player selection strategy, and we have scanners. So this all things will be passed in the constructor. So when we are creating a constructor of the game, then we will set the game as not started, and then the players will be the players which are passed while creating the constructor. Then the winning strategy will be passed and the player selection strategy will be passed. And in the scanner, we are taking new scanner system.in. It means it will take the user input. In the game class, we have only one method which is start. So let's see what happens in start method. In start method, the first statement is player current player equal to null. Means the current player is not assigned. It will be assigned later in this method. So what we are doing is we are creating a while loop. So this while loop will continue until we find a winner of this game. So what are the steps here? First we will find the player. So how we are finding the player? We are finding the current player by the player selection strategy next player. And here we are passing the current player and players. We will go into detail how this method is giving us the current player. As we are using the strategies, we have two strategy. One is round robin player selection strategy and one is random player selection strategy. So we will understand those two classes for finding the next player. And in the same selection strategy, we have the opponent method also, which will give us the opponent. So we will understand these two classes in the later section of this video. So we will find the player first and we will find the opponent on which the player will bomb the missile. So here we are just printing the message who is the current player, who is the opponent and the square location, and then we are asking the current player to enter the location where he will bomb the missile. So the player will enter the row and the column for bombing the missile. This row and column we are passing in the bomb missile method. So let's see what's there in the bomb missile method. In bomb missile, we are passing opponent, row and column where the current player has hit in the opponent's board. So first we will do the boundary check where we are checking if the row is inside the board or not. If the row is lower than the smallest row number, or if the row is higher than the largest row number, or if the column is lower than the smallest column number, or if the column is higher than the largest column number. In these four conditions, the square is not valid and we are throwing this message invalid square exception. You have hit on an invalid square of the opponent board. Then we will check the first step. What we are doing is we will get the opponent board, okay, by opponent.getBoard method. In the second step, we will get all the ships from that board. We are getting list of opponent items equal to opponent board dot get items. Means it will get all the items from the opponent boards. Third step, we will get all the squares from the opponent board. So here we are getting a map which is square and boolean, which will show that which all squares have been hit by the opponent. So that square map we are getting from this statement. In the fourth statement, check if current player missile has hit any of the ship item and mark hit miss on the board. So we are just checking if the current player missile has hit any ship or not. If it has hit any ship, then we will mark the ship has been hit, and if it has not hit, then we will mark the hit as miss. Okay, then we are creating the square and then we are marking that this square has been hit by the opponent. So after marking this, we just need to change the status of this ship, whether that ship has been completely destroyed or partially destroyed. So for checking that, what we are doing is in this for loop, we are getting all the ships one by one. Okay, opponent items item means we are iterating the ship from the opponent items. So here we are getting the squares from the item squares map, means whatever the squares are there for that ship, we are getting all those squares. And then from the current square means the current coordinate where the current player has hit in the opponent's ship. So we are checking if it is there, it means we are hitting that square. So we are marking that square in the square hit map. And then we are changing the item status by this method. So let's see what we are doing here. So we have taken one variable is item killed equal to true. It means if the ship is destroyed, then we will mark as true, else we will mark as false. So first we have initialized as true, then we are checking all the squares value. Okay, the ship might be having lots of squares and we are checking if any of them is not hit. So we are getting this is bound value, means the square has been hit or not. If it is not hit, then we are simply making is item killed equal to false, means the ship has not been destroyed. If all of them are hit, it means it will not go in that loop and it will come here and mark the ship as destroyed. But if any of them is not hit, then it will come here and make it false, and then we will set the status of the ship as partially destroyed. After then, we are just printing the statement that player has hit the opponent and then opponent name item in the square, means player has hit the item in that particular square. So this is the functionality of bomb missile. Now let's see the next statement of start method. So the current player has bombed the missile on the opponent's row and column. Then we are checking winning strategy, if the current player has won or not. So in winning strategy, one method we are passing current player and list of players. Okay, we will go inside this method later in this tutorial, but just understand this like it will check whether the current player has won or not. So if the current player has won, then we are assigning winner equal to current player and we will print this method that found winner. So if we have found the winner, then we will simply assigning this and we are printing this method, and after printing all this statement, we will simply out of this loop and the game start method will be over. So after this statement, we will simply we will print the board, okay, something like this, and then we will print the opponent board. So every time any player is bombing missile on the opponent's board, then we are printing two boards. First time it is current player board and second time it is opponent board. So this is the method where we are performing all the execution related to gaming. Okay, now let's see what is there in the player selection strategy. So in the player selection strategy, we have two methods, next player and choose opponent. So first see for next player, then we will see for choose opponent. So let's open it. So here this player selection strategy is an interface which has these two strategy, random player selection strategy and round robin player selection strategy. So first see random player selection strategy. So what do we mean by random? Random means any number from a given set. So in this method, we are getting the current player and we are getting the list of players. Now what we are getting is we are getting the player index. Okay, how we will get the player index? By the random dot next end. So here we are passing player size, means the random index value will be 0 to player size, where player dot size will be excluded. So suppose we have 10 players, so the range will be from 0 to 9. Okay, so we will get the index from this random dot next int, then we will get the player from the list. Okay, in the player we are passing the index and it will give us the next player. So if the current player which we have passed here is null, then we would immediately return the next player. But if the current player which has been passed in this method is not null, then we are checking the next player is current player. Means if the past player is equal to the new player, in that case it is not the next player, right? We have to find the new player. So we are again using the random dot next and we are getting some random player. So again we are comparing with the past player. So if the past player, means if the current is not equal to the new player, then only we are returning the next player, otherwise we will keep executing this file statement. So this is the way how we can find the next player, and in this method we are finding the opponent. So finding opponent is also same as the finding next player. So we are again using the player index, which will be using the random dot next int method. Okay, so from 0 to player size minus 1, we would get the index and we would find the opponent. So if the current player is equal to the opponent, it means that the opponent which we have found here is not a valid opponent. So we will execute the while loop and we will find the next opponent. We will use this loop until the current player and the opponent are not same. So once they are not same, we will return the opponent. So this is one strategy where we are using random method for finding the opponent or next player. There is one more strategy which is round robin player selection strategy. Now let's understand round robin player selection strategy. So in round robin player selection strategy also we have the next player. So in the next player we are passing the player and list of players. So here we have the current player index equal to 0. So for the first time when the game is started, this player will be null. So current player index is 0 and player is null. So it will return the player whose index is 0, means the first player will be returned. Now let's think it like this. We have 3 players and the first player has played its turn. So the system will again find the next player by using this method. Okay, first player has played its turn. So current player index is 0. Player equal to player 1, so it will not execute this statement. So this system will find the next player from this list of players. So in this statement, what will be the value of the next player? It will be player 1. Okay. So since already we have got player 1 from here, player 1 equal to player 1. So it will break from this statement and then it will come to this statement. So 1 is not equal to 3. So player not found exception will not be executed because player 1 equal to player 1 and current player index which we have got from here is 0. Okay, and player dot size is equal to 3. 0 is not equal to 3. So this statement will not be executed. Then we will find the next player index which will be current player index plus 1. So we have got the next player index which is 0 plus 1 equal to 1. So 1 modulo 3 equal to 1. So we have got players dot get 1, means it will be the second player. So for the first player, the next player will be second player. In the same way, for the second player, next player index will be the third player. For the third player in 3-player game, the next player index will be the first player. So these statements are very simple. Just spend some time on this code and you'll understand how the logic is working. And we are doing the same for the choose opponent. So if the game is started, the current player will be the 0th index player. Okay. But if the 0th index player has played, then the opponent will be the first index player. Okay. So this is also working in the same way. So these two strategies, random player selection strategy and round robin player selection strategy, will give us the next player and the opponents. Now there's one more strategy which is winning strategy. Okay. So for the winning strategy, we have two types of strategy. One is all ships down strategy and one is battleship down strategy. Let's go through them one by one. So in the battleship down winning strategy, we have this won method. And what will find the won method? It will give us true or false if the current player has won the game or not. So how will find if the current player has won the game or not? So here in this method, we are passing two parameters, current player and list of players. So let's say we have 3 players in the game. So the current player is player 1 and in the list of players we have player 1, player 2 and player 3. So first we are checking if the current player, means player 1, is equal to the first index of the players, means player 1 or not. So the player 1 is equal to player 1. So this statement will execute it and it will again come here. It will get player 2 from here. Now the current player is player 1 and this is player 2. So it will not be executed because player 1 not equal to player 2. And we will come here. So for player 1, what we are checking is we have to check if the battleship is down from the second player's board or not. So we will get all the ships from the second player's board and then we would check if the current ship is battleship or not. If the current ship is battleship and if that battleship is not destroyed, then we are returning false. Means player 1 has not won the game. Okay. Now let's see if the current player is player 1 And in the list of players, we have all the player 1, player 2 and player 3. And all the items are down from player 2 and player 3. Then how the flow will executed. So in the list of players, we have player 1, player 2 and player 3, and current player we have player 1. So first time this statement will be executed, and then it will again go and find the next player. So the current player is player 1 and this player will be player 2. Then we are getting all the items, means all the ships from player 2. Okay, since player 2's all the ships are down, so if the item type battleship is equal to the item dot get type, means the current ship is battleship, and if its status is destroyed, then it will not come to this statement, and then it will again go for the next item. So it will continuously checking for all the ships. Okay, so since there is only one battleship which is down, it will come to this statement, and then it will again go for finding the next player. So player 1 has destroyed the player 2's battleship. Now it will check for the player 3's battleship. So player equal to player 3 now. Player 3 not equal to the player 1. So this statement will not be executed. And here we are getting all the ships from player 3 board. Then what we have to check is the current ship is battleship or not. If the current ship is battleship, and if the current ship is not destroyed, but since this is destroyed, this statement will not be executed, and this will come out of this for loop, and then it will come to this for loop. So since we had 3 players and we have checked for all the players, we will come to this statement, and this statement will return true. So player 1 has won the game. And in the same way, we have one more strategy, which is all ships down strategy, where we are checking for all the ships for the opponent players. So if the current player had destroyed all the ships from the opponents, then the current player has won the game. Okay, so these are the strategies which are used here. In player selection strategy, we are using next player and choose opponent, and in the winning strategy, we are using either battleship or all ships down strategy. So you can go through these methods again, okay, from all ship down strategy and battleship strategy, and let me know if you have any confusion. So yeah, this is the game model where all the logic is available in the start method. So we will understand everything once we run this game. So before running this game, let's see the battleship demo. So in the battleship demo, what we are doing is we are creating a list of ships. So we are creating aircraft carrier, we are creating battleship, we are creating submarine, we are creating destroyer, and we are creating patrol boat. Okay, and this all ships we are keeping in list of items 1. After we have got all the ships for the first player, what we are doing is we are creating all ships down strategy. We are using all ships down strategy in the winning strategy, and we are using round robin player selection strategy in the player selection strategy. Once we have got the winning strategy, player selection strategy, and the board. So here in this statement, we are creating a board. How we are creating a board? By using this statement. In this statement, we are just getting the rows and columns for this board. And after getting rows and columns from the board, we are creating the squares. And in the squares boolean map, which is square boolean, which means the square has been hit or not. So in the square boolean map, we are just putting square with false, means this square has not been hit. And after we have got all the squares, by using this row and column for loop, we will create a board. So we have seen how we have created the board here. So we have created the board for player 1, and then we are creating the player. So how we are creating the player? We are creating the player by passing the player name, board, and player status, which is active. So this all statements belongs to player 1, for which we are creating all the ships, which is aircraft carrier, battleship, submarine, destroyer, and boat. And then this strategy belong to the game. So these are not specific to any particular player. And then we are creating a board for the player 2, where we are creating aircraft carrier 2, battleship 2, submarine 2, destroyer 2, and the patrol boat 2. So while creating the player, we are giving the name, board and then player status. So here in the players list we are adding this two player and then we are creating the game. Okay, and how we are creating the game? We are passing all the players the winning strategy and player selection strategy. Then we are calling the game start method, and game start method we have already explained how it works. Okay, so after the game is started, we have explained how it works. So what we are doing in create aircraft method, in the create aircraft method, first we are using this hash map. This hash map is containing only the square and boolean. Okay, square is containing the coordinates and boolean is showing whether this square has been hit by the opponent or not. So at the time of creation, this all statement will be false for this given coordinates. Okay, so 10 is showing that on 10 some part of this aircraft is occupied, on 11 some part of this aircraft is occupied, on 12 some part of this aircraft is occupied, on 13 some part of this aircraft is occupied, on 14 some part of this aircraft is occupied. Okay, and after then we are creating the item by passing this hash map where the status of the item is untouched and the item type is aircraft. In the same way, we are creating the battleship, we are creating the submarine, we are creating the destroyer, and we are creating the patrol boat. So for player 1, we have created 5 items, and for player 2, we have created 5 items. Now let's see how the game is played. So for that, simply run this battleship game. Okay, so here we need to enter the number of rows, which is 10 and 10. Again the number of rows for the second board, which is 10 and 10. Current player is Joe and the opponent is Walter. So here we are asking the current user where he want to bomb the missile. So let's say I am bombing at 2 and 2. So here we can see that this board is of player Joe. Since he has hit Walter's board, we should check in Walter's board. So you can see that this is X. X means we have hit the empty spot on the board. Now the current player is Walter, opponent is Joe. Okay, so we have 5 ships here. So we have 1 ship here, 1 ship here, 1 ship here, 1 ship here, and 1 ship here. So total we have 5 ships. So which square we should hit? We should hit this square, which is second row and 0th column. So let's hit second row and 0th column. So you can see earlier it was S and now it is H. It means we have hit. Now the current player is Joey and the opponent is Walter. So this is Walter board. Now tell me, where should we hit? So I want to hit this spot. So what is the coordinate of this spot? This is first row and 0th column. So first row and 0th column. So you can see we have hit this ship. So in the same way, we will continue playing until we have destroyed all the opponent's ship. So we will continue playing this game. So after playing this game, we can see that the winner is Walter. Why winner is Walter? Because Walter has destroyed all the ships from Joy. So you can see this is Joy board, and in Joy board all the ships have been hit. There is no S. S means the square where the ship was standing. So all the ships has been turned to hit. So this 3 and then this 2 and then this 4 and then this 5 and then this 3. So all the 5 ships of Joy have been destroyed by Walter. So we can say that Walter has win the game by bombing missiles on all the ships of Joy. Yeah, that's it from this video. Thank you.